Picture this: you're halfway through life's marathon, not slowing down but gearing up. Your 40s and 50s aren't about retirement, they're about reboot, turbocharging your vision with the rigor and clarity of a CEO. Reinvention is not just a choice at this stage of life, it's the edge that separates those who fade quietly from those who step into a new era of growth and impact. When you cross into your 40s and 50s, the rules of the game change. You're no longer proving yourself the way you did in your 20s and 30s. You've already taken punches, collected scars, built skills, and gained perspective. Now the challenge isn't about survival, it's about reinvention, and that's where your true superpower lies. Think about it. Everything you've experienced up to this point wasn't random. Every win, every failure, every late night, every lesson learned, they've built you into a sharper, wiser version of yourself. But here's the trap most people fall into. They get comfortable. They convince themselves that this is the stage where they should slow down, protect what they've built, and play safe. That's the fastest path to irrelevance. The real move is to pivot, to take that wisdom and apply it in new, daring, powerful ways. Reinvention is not abandoning who you were, it's upgrading who you are. When you reinvent, you stop asking, "What have I done?" and start asking, "What can I still create?" That simple shift reframes your entire identity. Instead of clinging to the past, you transform it into fuel. Imagine a business leader who never adapts to changing markets. Their company becomes obsolete. The same applies to life. If you stop evolving, you stop winning. But when you embrace reinvention, you open doors that others don't even see. You discover opportunities hidden in plain sight, simply because your perspective has matured. Reinvention also means cutting the dead weight. You've carried obligations, habits, and even relationships that no longer serve who you're becoming. This stage of life gives you the clarity to trim the noise. You already know what drains your energy. You already know what keeps you small. Let it go. Double down on the areas that amplify your strengths. Reinvention isn't about doing more, it's about doing the right things with precision and conviction. And here's the truth: reinvention is uncomfortable. It requires breaking patterns that you've lived with for decades. It forces you to step into uncertainty, to admit that what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. That's where courage comes in, because reinvention is not just about external shifts, like careers, businesses, or goals. It's an internal reset. It's about rewriting the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. You're not defined by your job title, your bank account, or even your past achievements. You're defined by your ability to evolve. In your 40s and 50s, you have something rare, the combination of experience and urgency. You've seen enough to know what matters, and you're aware that time is not infinite. That's the fire that fuels reinvention. It's no longer about impressing others. It's about aligning your life with what truly matters to you. Whether that means building something new, shifting industries, starting your own business, mentoring the next generation, or focusing on impact, it's all reinvention. It's all power. The world doesn't reward those who sit still. It rewards those who adapt, who innovate, who rise again and again, no matter how many times they've been knocked down. You've already proven you can endure. Now it's about proving you can transform. Reinvention is not about chasing youth. It's about unlocking maturity as an advantage. When younger people are still figuring themselves out, you're operating with clarity. When others are slowing down, you're picking up speed. That contrast is what makes reinvention unstoppable. So here's the challenge: don't settle into autopilot. Don't let routine become your prison. Instead, ask yourself, what part of me is ready to be reborn? Maybe it's a career reinvention, maybe it's health, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's personal growth. Wherever the answer lies, step into it with full force. Reinvention is not about playing small, it's about showing yourself and everyone watching that you're just getting started. Reinvention is your superpower. Use it, own it, live it, because this stage of life isn't the end of the road. It's the launch pad to the greatest version of yourself at this stage of life. The smartest move you can make is not to add more to your plate, but to sharpen what you already do best and cut away everything else. You've carried enough weight to know that not every task, not every opportunity, not every responsibility deserves your time. The difference between people who keep rising in their 40s and 50s and those who quietly fade is simple: focus. You've reached a point where your energy is too valuable to scatter. The real growth comes when you identify your sharpest edges and refine them until they cut through noise and competition effortlessly. The mistake many people make is trying to be everything for everyone. They cling to old roles, old skills, old ways of operating because they're afraid to let go. But that spreads them thin, dilutes their impact, and leaves them exhausted. Success at this stage isn't about being busy, it's about being precise. Think about how a master craftsman works. They don't juggle 100 tools at once. They pick the few that matter, the ones that shape excellence, and they use them with mastery. That's exactly how you need to approach your life and career now. You already know your strengths. They've shown up in the battles you've fought and the victories you've earned. You know the areas where you perform at a higher level than most. But sharpening those strengths means pushing them even further, doubling down where you already stand tall. If you're a communicator, become unforgettable with your voice and message. If you're a strategist, refine your ability to see around corners before others even know there's a bend in the road. If you're a builder, go deeper into creating systems and ventures that last. The point is not to be decent at 10 things. The point is to be exceptional at 2 or 3 that truly move the needle. Trimming the rest doesn't mean you've failed in those other areas. It means you've chosen to operate like a leader, not a laborer. Leaders delegate, leaders automate, leaders eliminate. They know that doing everything themselves is a trap. In your 20s, you could hustle on multiple fronts, burning energy like it was endless. But in your 40s and 50s, wisdom should replace hustle. You conserve your fuel for moves that matter. That's not slowing down, that's leveling up. The real power of trimming the rest is the clarity it brings. When you say no to the distractions, you say yes to dominance in your zone of genius. Too many people in midlife chase opportunities out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of decline, fear of irrelevance, but fear-driven decisions scatter your energy. Purpose-driven decisions sharpen it. By trimming the noise, you give yourself space to act with precision. That's how you create work that carries weight, that commands respect, that leaves a mark. This philosophy applies beyond career. Look at your relationships. Who energizes you, who drains you? Sharpen the bonds that lift you higher and trim the ones that anchor you to old patterns. Look at your health. Which habits fuel your strength? Which habits steal it? Sharpen the routines that keep you strong and trim the ones that keep you sluggish. Every area of life demands this discipline, and the more you apply it, the more powerful your presence becomes. People will tell you that being well-rounded is the goal. That's false. Being sharp is the goal. No one remembers those who were pretty good at everything. They remember the ones who stood out because they cut deep in one direction. Think about the leaders, innovators, creators who shaped the world. They weren't dabblers. They were obsessively sharp in their lane, and they ignored the rest. That's the model. Sharpening your strengths also requires humility. You have to admit that some areas are not for you. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't need to fix every flaw. You need to magnify every gift. Your value isn't in being average at what doesn't matter, it's in being exceptional at what does. That's how you command influence, how you stay relevant, how you leave a legacy. So the next time you feel pulled in 10 directions, stop. Ask yourself, what am I truly great at? What is the one thing I can do that moves the mission forward faster than anything else? Then make a ruthless decision. Pour your best energy there, trim the rest. Refuse to waste your second half of life on distractions that look like opportunities. This isn't about working harder, it's about working sharper. It's about taking the lessons, skills, and instincts you've earned and forging them into a blade so strong it can cut through any challenge. And when you walk with that kind of precision, the world doesn't see someone in their 40s or 50s trying to keep up. They see someone operating at the highest level of their life. Legacy is not built by the money you accumulate or the titles you collect. It's built in the lives you touch and the people you raise up. At this stage of life, the greatest move you can make is not just to chase personal wins, but to invest your wisdom into others. Mentorship is not a side project. It's the vehicle through which your influence outlives you. Buildings crumble, markets shift, fortunes rise and fall, but the lessons you pass on, the guidance you give, the standards you set, those can ripple for generations. When you've crossed into your 40s and 50s, you're carrying something most people don't have: perspective. You've lived through economic cycles, career changes, failures, breakthroughs, and reinventions. That perspective is gold. Too many people bury it. They keep their lessons locked up, or they assume no one needs to hear them. That's wrong. The world is hungry for direction. Younger professionals, entrepreneurs, even peers. They're searching for clarity in a noisy, distracted world. When you step in and mentor, you're not just giving advice. You're shaping trajectories. You're compressing decades of trial and error into moments of insight that can save someone years of wasted time. That's power. But mentorship isn't about standing on a pedestal and preaching. Real mentorship is about proximity. It's about walking alongside someone, not above them. It's about listening as much as speaking, and about being brutally honest when it's easier to stay polite. The best mentors don't sugarcoat. They tell you the truth no one else will. That truth might sting, but it sharpens. It might challenge, but it strengthens. And when someone looks back years later and credits you for helping them see clearly, that's a legacy no paycheck can buy. There's also a multiplier effect in mentorship. When you pour into one person, you're not just influencing them. You're influencing every person they will impact. If you help a leader grow, you indirectly shape their team, their business, their family, their community. It's a chain reaction. That's why the smartest leaders don't measure their impact in numbers on a spreadsheet, but in the people they've built up along the way. Mentorship allows you to scale your influence beyond what you could ever do alone. This doesn't mean you have to mentor everyone. Just like sharpening your strengths, you have to be selective. You can't spread your wisdom thin. You have to choose people who are hungry, who are ready, who will take what you give and run with it. Don't waste energy on those who want your time, but not your discipline. True mentorship requires commitment on both sides. It's not about hand-holding, it's about equipping. You hand someone the tools, but they have to swing the hammer. And let's be clear, mentorship also feeds you. It reminds you of your own journey, reignites your energy, and keeps you sharp. Teaching forces you to refine your own thinking. When someone asks you tough questions, you're challenged to revisit your own assumptions. Mentorship is not a one-way street. It's a growth exchange. The more you pour into others, the more clarity you often gain about your own path. Legacy built through mentorship is also deeper than professional advice. It's about modeling character. People won't just remember the strategies you taught them. They'll remember how you carried yourself when the pressure was high. They'll remember your integrity, your resilience, your discipline. They'll remember how you treated people, not just how you succeeded. That's what sticks. That's what gets passed down. If you want to test how strong your legacy is, ask yourself this: if everything I've built disappeared tomorrow, what would remain in the people I've influenced? That's the true measure. Money can vanish, titles fade, industries collapse. But if you've raised up leaders, thinkers, and doers who embody the lessons you've passed on, then your impact is untouchable. You've created something no recession, no disruption, no setback can erase. The truth is, one day no one will care about your resume. They won't care what year you bought the house, what car you drove, or how many zeros were in your account. They'll care about the people you developed, the lives you changed, the standards you set. Mentorship turns your success into significance. It turns your story into someone else's fuel. And that's the kind of wealth that compounds forever. So don't wait until it's too late. Start mentoring now. Share your lessons, your scars, your strategies. Be willing to challenge, to encourage, to hold others accountable. Your legacy is not what you leave behind. It's who you leave behind. And the measure of your life's second half won't be how high you climbed, but how many you lifted with you. That's how you build a legacy worth remembering. Money without meaning is empty. You can stack the numbers, grow the accounts, and collect the assets. But if your finances don't align with a deeper purpose, you'll eventually realize you've built a life that feels hollow. At this stage of life, you already know the grind of chasing money for the sake of more. You've seen that wealth alone doesn't guarantee fulfillment. The real power move now is to make your money serve something bigger than accumulation. Wealth becomes meaningful only when it's aligned with purpose. The problem most people fall into is thinking money itself is the goal. They chase higher salaries, bigger houses, nicer cars, as if each purchase is a badge of success. But once you reach a certain level of comfort, more of the same doesn't move the needle. The truth is, freedom, impact, and alignment matter far more. Finances should be fuel, not trophies. They should give you the freedom to pursue what matters most, the power to stand firm when storms come, and the opportunity to invest in something that outlives you. This stage of life demands clarity. Ask yourself, what is my money doing for me? Is it keeping me chained to things I no longer value? Or is it creating space for growth, experiences, and contribution? Aligning finances to purpose means shifting from ego-driven spending to intentional investing. It means designing your money around the life you want, not bending your life around the money you make. That's where fulfillment lies. Alignment doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means sharpening it. If you build wealth without purpose, you'll always be restless. But if you connect it to a mission, every dollar becomes a tool for progress. If family matters most, structure your finances to give them security and unforgettable experiences. If contribution drives you, funnel resources into causes that reflect your values. If freedom is your goal, build systems that generate income without consuming your life. The strategy shifts from how much can I get to how effectively can I use what I have. There's also discipline in aligning wealth with purpose. It requires trimming the financial noise. You don't need to finance every new trend or impress people who don't matter. You don't need to cling to debt that drains your future. You need to cut unnecessary expenses and redirect that energy toward meaningful targets. Every dollar that leaks into distractions is a dollar stolen from your purpose. At this stage, you can't afford to waste resources on hollow pursuits. Precision matters. This alignment also changes how you see risk. Most people avoid risk because they're afraid of loss. But when your money is tied to purpose, risk becomes strategic. You're not gambling for more, you're investing for meaning. You're willing to take bold moves when they align with your mission, because even if the outcome isn't perfect, the intent keeps you moving forward. Purpose gives courage to your financial decisions, and courage often creates the breakthroughs comfort never will. Another critical piece is legacy. If wealth dies with you, it wasn't maximized. Aligning money with purpose means ensuring it flows beyond your lifetime. That doesn't always mean massive donations or foundations. It can mean creating opportunities for your children, mentoring others in financial discipline, or building systems that continue to provide value after you're gone. The alignment transforms wealth from something you owned into something that lives on. That's how financial impact compounds across generations. And let's not overlook the personal freedom alignment creates. When your finances are aligned with purpose, you're no longer a slave to appearances. You stop chasing what others think success looks like and start designing what success feels like for you. That could mean scaling back, simplifying, or pivoting completely. It could mean doubling down and building something greater. The point is, the direction comes from clarity, not comparison. That's the kind of freedom money is supposed to buy. When you reach your 40s and 50s, the financial scoreboard looks different. It's not about whether you can outspend your neighbor or retire a few years earlier. It's about whether your money is building the life and legacy that align with who you've become. The wealth you've accumulated up to now is only as valuable as the purpose it serves. Without alignment, you'll always feel a gap, no matter how high the numbers climb. With alignment, even modest wealth can create extraordinary impact, so the charge is simple. Stop treating money as the end game. Make it the fuel. Redesign your finances around your values, your freedom, your impact. Use it to unlock doors that matter, to build stability for those you love, to amplify your voice and vision. Wealth without purpose is just weight. Wealth with purpose is power, and when you master that alignment, you'll find that your financial success finally feels like real success. Because it's tied to something that actually matters. Confidence isn't about pretending to have all the answers. It isn't about walking into a room with a loud voice or a perfect image. Real confidence, the kind that wins in life, in business, in leadership, comes from authenticity. It's the quiet certainty that you are grounded in who you are, what you've learned, and what you stand for. By the time you reach your 40s and 50s, you've carried enough victories and setbacks to know that faking it doesn't last. Authentic confidence is built through scars, through failures, through moments where you had to rebuild yourself. And that's why, at this stage, it's your greatest advantage. Too many people confuse confidence with performance. They think if they project strength, others will believe in them. But people are sharper than that. They see through facades. They can tell when someone is overselling. What earns respect is not bravado, it's presence. It's being comfortable in your own skin, not because you're flawless, but because you've lived, you've endured, and you've proven to yourself that you can get back up no matter what. That's the foundation of authenticity, and that's the kind of confidence that sticks. Authentic confidence doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to dominate every conversation. Sometimes it's in the silence, in the calmness under pressure, in the way you don't flinch when things get hard. That calm authority comes from experience. You've already survived enough storms to know that panic doesn't solve problems. When others are frantic, your steady presence becomes the anchor. That's what people follow. Not the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who stands the strongest. What makes authentic confidence powerful is that it's not dependent on outside validation. When you're younger, you might need applause, recognition, or reassurance to feel confident. But by midlife, if you've been paying attention, you realize real confidence comes from within. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from knowing your capabilities, and from aligning your actions with your values. That's a deeper kind of strength, one that doesn't crumble when opinions shift or when circumstances change. Another dimension of authentic confidence is vulnerability. That may sound like a contradiction, but it isn't. Being authentic means you're not afraid to admit what you don't know, to ask for help, or to acknowledge mistakes. That kind of honesty doesn't weaken you, it humanizes you. People trust leaders who admit imperfection, but still move forward with conviction. They see someone who is real, not manufactured, and in a world drowning in pretense, realness is magnetic. Authentic confidence also shows up in decision making. When you're not trying to impress, you make choices based on clarity, not approval. You're not swayed by trends or peer pressure. You move with intention, even if others don't understand at first. That independence is powerful. It signals that you're guided by something deeper than the noise of the crowd. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect the certainty with which you act. And here's the thing, authentic confidence is contagious. When you carry it, others around you begin to stand taller. They borrow from your steadiness until they find their own. That's why leaders who lead with authenticity don't just build followers. They build more leaders. They inspire others not by pretending to be untouchable, but by showing that strength and humanity can coexist. The challenge is stripping away the false layers you've built over time. Maybe you've worn masks to fit into roles, to meet expectations, to avoid judgment. Authentic confidence requires peeling those away. It demands that you stop apologizing for who you are and stop overcompensating for what you're not. It requires owning your journey, the good and the bad, as the very source of your authority. That's where your credibility comes from, not from pretending, but from being whole. At this stage of life, you've already proven you can endure. Authentic confidence is about taking that history and letting it fuel your presence today. It's about standing in front of people without the need to oversell, because your track record, your resilience, and your clarity speak louder than words. It's about knowing you don't need to chase respect. When you're authentic, respect comes to you. So the call is simple. Drop the performance, embrace the truth, and carry yourself with the confidence that only authenticity can bring. Because in the end, people won't remember the version of you that tried to impress them. They'll remember the version of you that was real, grounded, and unshakable. That's the kind of confidence that wins. So here's the charge. Don't coast. Reinvent, realign, reinvest. You're not defined by numbers or years. You're defined by purpose in action. Your 40s and 50s aren't a pause button. They're a power button. Press it. Lead with clarity. Lead with confidence. Your best season. It starts now.